right. Hello, everyone. This is EETF number 87. My name is Patrick. And tonight we are doing something a little bit different. Tonight we are focusing on travel, finally. And tonight I have a fellow traveler who came back from Japan a few days ago. Mike Drew, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Thank you. And welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a bit of we added we'll talk about it, I'm sure, but we added 3 weeks of the UK after a couple weeks in Japan. So I was away for just over 5 weeks, and
Mm.
I think I needed some decompression time. So I'm in that phase right now. So I'm starting to reflect on everything that happened and all our experiences. So yeah, hopefully I have some amusing tales to tell.
But you mentioned to get back into it. Usually, jet lag. I mean, personally, it only affects me when I come back, when I go east to
Hmm.
west,
Yep.
because there is also the fact I'm sad about coming back. And usually, when I come back, winter is there soon, so it's doubly depressing. So, how does jet lag affect you normally?
I'm not too bad normally. I have been bad. I have a great story I can tell about a time I was really bad. But to be fair, this time I didn't find it too difficult. We had gone east to when we went to Tokyo, which is a bit unusual, leaving from Toronto, which we can get into, but it wasn't bad. I bought myself a new neck pillow,
Hmm?
and it really helped because even if I could get a couple hours on the plane, I found that I wasn't as just, down and out the next day or what have you. We landed in Tokyo at 7 in the morning after traveling for, I don't know, 26 hours or something by that point. So yeah.
Jesus.
And like I mentioned, that normally wouldn't be the case, but we can kind of get into that. So
Okay, so first things first, Japan. It was your first time there?
yeah, first time in Japan, first time in Asia.
Okay.
So it's another continent I get to check off the list.
Yeah, exactly, because you've been to Australia before.
Yep.
Okay. So, first question would be why Japan?
Japan was just always a bucket list place. This might sound super geeky, and I know it is, but just growing up, you and I met through musical means, right? We met through the Rock Solid game during the pandemic, and everybody in that was our big music fans, and I was always a big music fan growing up, and I would buy a lot of Japanese imports.
Oh, really? Okay.
I did, and it wasn't. Sometimes Japan would release things that hadn't been released in North America. So, just a random example was there was a '70s glam hard rock band called Angel, and I used to get the records at used record stores and stuff. But then they got re-released on CD for the first time in Japan. So I remember going to Sam the Record Man downtown Toronto, buying them for an extortion amount of money, and all the liner notes and all the notes are in Japanese. And I'm like, well, I'd love to know what this says. And this is obviously long before Google Translate or what have you. So I was always fascinated by those releases, and they would have bonus tracks. And then they would have these things called obi strips, which are like these little promotional pieces of paper that they would attach to the outside, and it would have the price and the release date and all this additional information, which again, at the time, I had no idea what it said.
Mhm.
Just things like that. And then I'm a bit of a pro wrestling geek, and pro wrestling is huge in Japan, or has
Yes.
been huge at times in Japan. So, I always had those interests. And then my son, who is a massive Pokemon collector and fan, and obviously that's Japanese. So all these things just kind of, and my wife was always willing to go as well. So we went, and it was fantastic, which we'll get into. But yeah, it was just all like an amalgamation of all those things that, you know.
You mentioned a blast from the past for us Canadians, Sam the Record Man. Did that specific store have an import section, or did you have to talk to the clerk or something?
They did have an import section,
Okay.
but I think the Angel records, and I just remember buying like one or two of them there specifically. I know I had ordered some through local stores. We used to just go down and peruse, right? Like from A to Z. I mean, you could leave me in there for hours. I was the cheapest date you'd ever have. Like just so I remember, and Angel,
Well,
and I
yeah.
remember finding I'm like, holy smokes, I didn't, as a teenager, and again, like I had them on vinyl. But then I remember finding out that like certain Japanese releases had bonus songs on them because it was cheaper in Japan in the 80s and 90s to import CDs from abroad than it was to buy the domestic release of a product.
I didn't know that.
So the Japanese record company, so if you had, I don't know, I'll use Kiss, for example, just they were label mates with Angel. But if a Kiss record came out, say, when it was released in Japan, it would cost more domestically than it actually would to import it from America or Canada or wherever, Germany.
Do you know why?
No, I honestly don't know. But to combat that, the Japanese record companies or those divisions of the record companies would put bonus tracks on their releases. So, there were a lot of times where I knew a record was coming, and then I would read in a magazine that the Japanese release has 2 bonus songs on it. And then I was like, well, now I've got to spend double so I can get 2 songs and hope that they're okay. Because sometimes they were garbage. Like, you're like, oh, that's why they're on here. And sometimes you would get them and go, oh my God, how did this not make the original record? But yeah, so it was stuff like that. And like I said, my son loves Pokemon, and it was just, it was all those things. And then it was like this year just happened to come, and we were talking about, we try to do a trip every summer. And this year, because I'm a teacher and that's kind of my block of time that I'm off. Mm-hmm. And we just decided, I think around Christmas last year, we decided, okay, Japan, this is the year, let's do it. So
nice.
Yeah, that worked out.
And if we talk logistics, you took off from Toronto.
Yes.
With British Airways, if I remember.
We did, yeah. So because we knew we were going to the UK afterwards, mm-hmm. you would normally fly direct from, if you're flying to Tokyo, you normally fly direct from Toronto. So you just go west, and it's
non-stop.
Usually, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, okay. I think it's about 13 and a half, 14 hours.
Not bad.
And it's about the same from London. So, but the problem was that on the way from Tokyo to London, if you flew with Air Canada, if you booked it with Air Canada, for example, you were going to have a layover somewhere. Mm. And there's a good chance, and it wasn't going to be an Air Canada flight. You're now bringing in a different airline, Air Japan or whatever I think it's called, or it could have been through, I think, Korea Air. Like, they have all these partners, right, obviously. And mm-hmm. and so it was going to be under an Air Canada code, but it wasn't going to be an Air Canada flight. But then you had, I think the options were Frankfurt, Seoul, or Dubai. And you know what? I was just like, I don't want to add another country if I don't have to, because you could. So for BA, you went the wrong way to start, right? You went east, and then you landed. Your layover was in London, but then on the way back, you didn't have a layover. So you had to have a layover somewhere. I just decided to have it at the start this time. So mm-hmm. Yeah,
good way to go, I think.
You know what? It added peace of mind in the sense I didn't want to miss a visa that I needed. I'm not saying you had to have, I don't know. And that was the thing. I was like, if I missed it, if our layover's in Seoul and all of a sudden I realize we don't have a visa that you needed or what have you, I don't want there to be any issues. Or if we bought something in Japan and we land in Frankfurt and they're like, you can't bring this into, and I'm just like, ugh. So yeah, it limited that because we didn't have to obviously fly in any countries that we weren't actually going to be spending any time in, So.
And also, there is also always this kind of, I'm not going to say gray zone, but like, do you need a visa if you only stay in the airport? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. So
Exactly. And I didn't want to have to start. And that's additional time and research of trying to figure that stuff out. It's especially because I'm sure, like yourself, I haven't been to a travel agent in a while. All right. I'm doing this all on my own. Yeah. So, if I had, I'm sure they would have been like, hey, if you go through here, then you're going to need this. And then that's an additional fee. I mean, it could be $3, but it could, I just forget it. So British Air was, and to be fair, and any airline, you can go online and you'll read nothing but complaints because that's what people want to do is go on and complain. People don't go on to say, hey, it all went smoothly. But honestly, every flight we had for BA, other than a luggage thing at the end, mm-hmm. went super smoothly. So.
Okay. And it wasn't probably even BA's fault. Probably the airport, most likely. Because Toronto is notorious for losing luggage.
Patrick and I were talking prior to the record button being pushed. And we were about an hour and 45 minutes later leaving Pearson than we should have been because of a a baggage situation, and we weren't alone. There was a lot of people on our plane that were still standing there waiting for things, but I think it all worked out. It definitely worked out for all, like my family, all of us. So yeah, I can't complain.
And it's so much better when that stuff happens once you get back home
Oh
instead of
God, yes.
over there.
Yes.
You know?
Well, because you like, unless you packed every single item of clothing that you had to go there and you came back and you're like, I got nothing to change into. Obviously, I've got extra, things at home. And I'm like, I don't have all my underwear. I don't care. I've got some at home, So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Okay, so over the course of this conversation, we will cover a couple of things, food among others.
Okay.
We will get to that shortly, cultural differences and other things as well. So first, let me ask, overall, I know that you weren't traveling solo, but overall, what kind of traveler are you?
I like travel. Okay, so traveling for me has always been about obviously exploring new places. I mean, it's all the cliches, right? Exploring new places, trying new things. But I also like to go to places where I know that I'm going to be interested in, like I said, the music situation in Japan, or different activities or places to visit, what have you. But I would say I'm a big traveler in the sense that I would travel all the time if I could, financially or time wise. We try to book like a bigger trip at least each year. And that might be in addition to a smaller trip. And I say a smaller trip, like last year, for example, we flew to Los Angeles in May of 2024, which was amazing. We spent a week out in LA. And then in the summer, we did a bigger road trip. We spent a couple of weeks kind of on the East Coast of America, going to New York City and Connecticut and all these places. But, usually each summer, not each summer, but every year, one of the trips will involve a plane, right? Like, so, we're already starting to think about next year, and we're all good travelers in the sense that we're all flexible for the most part. Yes, we get stressed out a little bit and, at times, and you might get snappy with somebody, but it's not because you're mad at them. It's because you're, maybe anxious on a situation or something. And then you're like, I'm really sorry. But overall, yeah, we're all good travelers. So,
okay, good. Well, yeah, it's important to travel at the same, if you're not traveling at the same speed, air quotes, at least, give yourself like a 4-hour window when you can go solo,
yeah.
Because I'm a psycho when I travel. I'm always on the move. And okay, so, this is like 5 miles on foot. Okay, no need for a bus. Who needs a bus? I'll walk,
We do. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I use Uber more abroad than I do at home. I think I've used Uber twice at home, and I say in home in Canada but I've used Uber several times in the UK. We used it in France a couple of years ago. We used it in, no, we didn't use it in Japan, but the Japanese train system, especially in like Tokyo or Osaka stuff, it's so great that you don't need it. But yeah, but I am too. We're big walkers, but it does sometimes get to the point in the day where we're just like, all right, let's, if there's no train handy or something, let's take a.
And also some cities are a bit hard to figure out. They like the public transport.
Yeah. Japan, like Tokyo especially, is not one of them.
Okay.
Tokyo is super easy for the most part. We stuck to like 2 or 3 different lines. In Osaka, once you get the hang of it, because that's where we spent basically our trip was Tokyo and Osaka. We did go to Kyoto for a day, but yeah, it's super, like 24 hours, you've got it,
Oh, wow.
And thank God for Google Maps. It's the greatest. That is easily the app I used the most while we were there.
Yeah, same, I think. Okay, logistics again. So once you were there, did you get a eSIM or something like that?
That's a great question. So I'm going to shout out, I don't normally do this, but I'm going to shout out my mobile company because I've been with them for 15 years. So in Canada, we have a company called Freedom Mobile. They're owned by Quebec company. I don't know which one.
I think so. Let me look it up. But yeah, keep going.
But they have a plan where they have however many gigs of data you get at home and all this. But they have a thing called Roam Beyond. And so my plan, I get 15 gig a month, and I can use it. And I think it's 120 different countries.
Oh, nice.
In Japan, it worked flawlessly. Now I did buy an eSIM backup. Just in case, because I thought, so I bought like 10 gig. I think it cost me 10 American dollars. It lasted 30 days. And I'll tell you, I can't even remember I was going to use an eSIM called Airalo.
Yes, I used those
Yeah.
before.
But there were some situations, it's information overload on Reddit, places like Reddit and stuff, right? And Instagram. But there had been some stories of some identity thefts through it.
Okay.
So all of a sudden I got panicky, and but I found another one called UBG. I don't know if I'm saying that right. UBIGI.
Okay.
It's another eSIM. It's an app. I put it as a backup. I did use it for a little while because I wanted to try it, and I'm geeky like that, and it worked really well.
Okay.
And again, it was like super cheap, and I just had it as a background eSIM because on the iPhone you can have obviously two SIMs running at once.
Mm-hmm.
But the Freedom Mobile for Canadians who are travelers, I mean, I think I have 100 gig a month, which I never get close to, but I can use that. I can use that in America and Mexico as well.
Okay.
But this Roam Beyond is a game. They introduced it about a year ago or 2 years ago. And as for my son and my wife, they don't have that. They just have like these annual plans. But for $30, you can get 5 gig and it lasts. And I think for $50, you can get 10 gig and it lasts for 30 days. And again, in those same 120 countries. So I got it for my son as well. And I got it for my wife. And we all had data and it was great. We didn't have to think twice. It was flawless. It really was.
They could have hopped on your signal as well, right?
Yeah, I think you can hotspot, but you know what? Like, again,
it's simpler that way. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's information over. And if we weren't together, right? Like if we went in and you go into that store and I'll go into this store.
True.
And then it was, we'll meet back here, or I'll text you if I get done early or whatever. So, but again, it all worked out really well. So shout out to Freedom Mobile because honestly, I don't normally, but I've been with them so long and honestly, they've been nothing but good for me.
So they are owned by Québécois. So you're right. It's a Quebec company. I didn't know actually. I knew the name, but I didn't know they were owned by Québécois. So yeah, cool.
They used to be called Wind years ago. And
yes.
They were kind of, when they started, they were smaller and they didn't have towers everywhere. And people would always complain, like, if I go into my apartment building, there's no signal. But now they've got a bunch of deals with the CRTC has kind of, I think, probably helped that out a little bit. But they've got, I don't not have a signal very often. Like it's amazing. It's no different than Rogers or Telus or Bell, or, any Costco, you're not going to have a signal. They're like, they're made of titanium or something, whatever it is. But
nuclear bunker.
Yeah.
For a eSIM, I used the Airalo as well in the past. And the last 2 trips, I used the Nomad.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah. So, it's all right. I mean, it's not, blazing speeds, but it's, reliable everywhere I've been so far. So good enough,
I did find the Roam Beyond with Freedom was hit or miss in the UK.
Okay.
It would bounce between like the Vodafone towers, 3 towers, and EE towers, which are just all different mobile providers over there. And I found when it went with the Vodafone, it tended to work a little better, but it was not great. I have to be honest. Now, because I do spend a lot of time in the UK, I actually have a UK SIM, which works. And I just kept going back to that just because it wasn't brilliant. But in Japan, it worked great.
Okay. All right. So we can try and squeeze in a specific segment called Arrival Shock.
Okay.
So what surprised you the most when you stepped off the plane? Like language barrier was probably not the big problem. Like at the airport, certainly not.
Right. I would think the biggest shock was, that's a good question. You know what? I'll say this specifically. Was going through customs, not that it was an issue, but we had read that if you did, it's almost like here, like if you do things online prior to, then it makes your thing faster. It didn't work out like that for us. We just, like I had done everything online, but then we ended up having to do it all again.
Oh, okay.
And we made it through and no problems and, where are you going and all that stuff. But yeah, language barrier wasn't really an issue because like you said, a lot of the signs are obviously just in English as well. We landed super early, so we were like, and we couldn't get into our Airbnb for 6 hours.
Yeah.
So it was like, well, let's go get a tea and or a drink and whatever. And the problem, not a problem, but it was a lot of those menus are not in English, right? So you're kind of going by picture. You're holding up your phone for Google Translate to decipher it. or to translate it. Yeah. So maybe language, like with menus and things like that, but which will lead to a story later about food. But
Okay.
yeah, I would just say maybe that. But again, doing this in 2025 is, I couldn't imagine doing this 30 years ago. Like, I don't know how, as a young, solo traveler, I probably wouldn't have had any issues because I don't have any food allergies or anything like that. But
Yeah, you just wing it, you know?
yeah, you can just wing it and kind of end up where you end up. To be honest, in 2025, there's no excuse for really to have many issues at all.
That's true. And did you bother learning a couple of words?
Yeah. So my wife and my son had been doing like Duolingo, and they were learning stuff. And I'm like, you're never going to use that. I didn't have the heart to tell them, but um, we had done a ton of research, watched a ton of Instagram and YouTube things. But I found a lady on YouTube who she had said, here are like the 20 phrases you'll probably use the most.
Ah, nice. Okay.
And so I downloaded it to my phone, and I'll be honest, work had been really busy up until we kind of left. So what I did was I listened to it on the plane a bunch of times, and I probably got 4 or 5 of them down okay, like well, and then a couple that were like a little sketchy, and then the rest I probably didn't have. But you start to realize which ones you're actually going to use, consistently and what have you. So
Do you still remember a few of them?
a couple, like Ohio is like a very informal good morning.
Okay.
There is a second part to that, but I can't remember what it is. Yeah, konnichiwa and things like that. So, but my son did really well.
Okay.
And he could hear something once and then be able to use it again. And at one point, like, we went to this one restaurant in Osaka and the meal was really good. And he said, I want to be able to say, thank you, that meal was great, or what have you. And he wasn't sure exactly how to put it. He knew some of the words. So,
Arigato.
yeah, like konnichiwa, right?
Mhm.
And he went on Google Translate, typed in what he wanted to say, and then it will say it back to you, obviously, right? And he listened to it like 2 times, and he walked up to the cook at one point and he said it. And the cook just looked at him and his jaw dropped, and and he looked at us and he pointed at his son and he's like, wow. Like, so it must have been like a good translation as well. But yeah, he did amazing. And he was just picking stuff up as we went. And it was young minds, right? They're so moldable. And
Yeah.
he did great. Me, nah, and my wife, she did better than me. So but yeah, but it was, they were so sweet, and they know you're trying. As long as you're kind of, your show you're trying, then
Yeah.
they're very happy about it. So
All right. Excellent. Well, maybe we can squeeze in a little culture misunderstanding in there. Is there one that jumps to mind, or?
the only one that I think was it wasn't an issue. It was just I didn't clue in. So when you enter somebody's, because we was an Airbnb as well, and
Well, yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. So, did you specifically look for Airbnbs?
yes,
Okay, instead of hotels, no hotels.
and the only reason is that my son has a fish allergy.
Okay.
And so because of that, we thought, well, in Japan, and again, looking online, which is great in 2025, but also, makes you a little anxious, probably maybe for things you don't have to be. But obviously we know, you think sushi, you think Japan, and not that he was going to be eating sushi, but it was like, okay, we read that, certain restaurants will use fish oil
Oh, yeah.
just in dishes. And so we had a card for him, like a laminated card that said, hey, I have a fish allergy, and for restaurants and things. But that was really the main reason, because it was like, okay, we're going to have to cook like a lot of times for ourselves. If we were out during the day and we're going to have lunch somewhere, you know what, we'll deal with it. We'll have the card out.
Mhm.
We'll do it on Google Translate, what have you. But we knew that we were going to have to cook a lot for ourselves because of that. So an Airbnb is obviously much more sensible than, I got the impression, not that we stayed in one, but I got the impression that a lot of hotels didn't have, cooking utensils and things like that. So I was just like, let's just bypass that entirely if we can. So
Were you able to find something affordable within a good location?
yeah. So in Tokyo, we stayed in an area called oh, I'm so bad with names. And it's late, guys. I'm sorry. Ikebukuro.
Okay.
I think I massacred that, but it's pretty close. It's the northwest It seems to be like on a map, it's the northwest side of Tokyo.
Okay.
It's about, so on the west side of Tokyo is Shibuya, which is where, like you always see that famous shot of like the mad scramble with the
Yeah,
cross.
the big intersection.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's in Shibuya, and then it's Shinjuku. Oh God, I'm tired.
It
I'm
feels
sorry.
like a Times Square of Tokyo
It
almost.
is. So yeah, so Shinjuku, which is north of that, and then it's like, I think there's another borough. So it's like boroughs, kind of like New York City, where there's the Bronx and Manhattan and Brooklyn. It's kind of all these sections of a big town, and where we stayed was kind of the northwest, and it was amazing because it was busy because there's millions and millions and millions of people in Tokyo, and everywhere's busy, but it wasn't like staying in Times Square. It was a bit of a decompression. When you got off the train and you're near your place, it was like, it's a little quieter, and but it's still a big city, and it was fantastic. I would recommend that area. It's so Ikebukuro. I think maybe I said it right there.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah,
right.
it's really nice. It's and everything, again, it's a big city. Everything's everywhere. But the anime, and again, my son being Pokemon and stuff, there's a big anime section in that part of Tokyo. And we were a 2-minute walk from there. And it was fantastic. Tons of restaurants, train station.
Was it an apartment?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
So real quick story about that was I booked it and we couldn't get in until 2 or 3. We land at 7. So we go get lunch. We came into the I said, look, we're near this anime section. Yeah, I know we're tired and whatever, but we got time to kill. So let's go there, and then we're nearby our place and we'll just run over. So we went and got lunch. We took the train to this area, got lunch, went into a couple stores and looked around and stuff.
Carrying all your luggage?
Carrying all our luggage.
God, that's the worst part.
So at 2:00, I'm over in the lobby, which is outside. And it's like outdoors. It's an outdoor lobby. And I tested the Airbnb host and I just said, hey, we're here. And she said, oh, I'm right across the road. I'll be there in 2 seconds. And she was. And when she walked in, she goes, I'm really sorry. I've just realized I forgot the keys. And I was like, and now I should point out, it's 40 degrees Celsius as well.
Oh,
it's super hot. We've been walking around for hours, just killing time. Anybody who doesn't think Japan is hot in the summer has never been.
Humid as well.
Humid and insane. The average temperature while we were there was between 38 and 45 degrees every single day. Like, I think there was one day that it went down to 28 and it was still like 32 or 33 with the humidity. And it was crazy. Ouch. Now, being from Southern Ontario, like yourself, I think we're used to humidity, right? Not that we like it.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's there.
Just that,
yeah. So it was hot and we're tired and, all these things. And we're like, it's okay. And she's like, why don't you go and explore? And we're like, well, actually, and I didn't realize this, but the Airbnb app, so we're texting each other back and forth because there's a language barrier. And she's standing beside me and she's texting. And I didn't realize this, but the Airbnb app does the translation.
Yes.
So I'm texting her and then it shows up in Japanese on her phone.
Yep.
And then she writes me right back and she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that. And I said, no, it's okay. And she said, look, I work across the street in a travel agent. Why don't I take you over there and you can wait there and there's air conditioning? We're like, great. They were super sweet. They were bringing us tea. And all this.
Okay.
It was great. So we were there about an hour. She, whatever, she had to go get the key. She came back. She took us up. And I think this is where we were going. But you have to when you enter like a Japanese home, you have to take your shoes off at the door, right? Yeah. And they have slippers for you and things like this. So you asked about a cultural thing. This was the only thing that happened was I didn't realize that it was like that in change rooms as well. So if you went, we went to a store and I wanted to try something on and I went to step in and I hear, excuse me. And I stopped and then I realized she was talking to me and she's like, shoes, please. And then I realized there was actually a sign. I just missed it. I was spaced out. And, but yeah, so even to enter a change room, you had to take your shoe. You're supposed to take your shoes off too. So
I didn't know that. Okay.
I didn't either. So.
All right. Well, and yeah, in Europe, I mean, I know that in Germany, you take off your shoes when you enter because otherwise you're going to get told about it.
In homes, you mean?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, like here, like It's weird. Like, I don't know. I'm sure there are people I know in America, apparently I watch TV
Yeah.
show like and I
I
go,
wasn't sure if I was going to say it out
yeah,
loud,
yeah,
but yeah.
yeah. I don't know. It seems to be like an American thing, but I don't know anywhere else I've ever been where you wear shoes in someone's house or your own house or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But just me. Maybe if you're farmers and you're like, I'm not taking my boots off, I'm just gonna leave them on. But I don't know.
Yeah. And leave tracks everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. You mentioned the food a few minutes ago, so we can get into that a little bit. Fish allergy, and I'm guessing if you carry cars and all that, it must be a severe allergy.
Yeah. I mean it's I don't think it hasn't been like obviously fatal, right? Like it's happened a couple times because we learned about it pretty early on, and he was about 4 or 5, and it's a long story about how we kind of figured it out what was going on.
Okay.
But yeah, he just has his allergy is mainly for whitefish, but he didn't get tested for like shellfish and stuff. But we just make that assumption anyway because we're like, what does it matter at this point?
Play it safe. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if we go to a restaurant with, family, friends or whatever, we have to say, hey, do you mind not ordering fish? Just because even like a utensil, that's
Yeah.
one of the incidents that happened years ago where we realized that it was like, oh, wait a minute. And we started to make connections. That's how we figured it out. And then he got tested for whitefish and yeah, he gets violently ill and it's not pleasant. So you don't want to be however many thousands of miles from home and, sick and missing out on your fun and stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we're just like, let's just avoid it. But
So it wasn't a big problem.
no, there's a website called, oh, I should have looked this up, but it's an Australian website. There's an Australian agency or part of the government or whatever about allergies and not just food allergies, but just allergies. And they have a section for they give you like templates where you can make cards in different languages that say your allergy. So obviously for food ones, they have a whole thing about in the Japanese language and you manipulate it, you cut out these things and you say, I have allergies to fish or, shellfish or peanuts or whatever. And my wife happens to know a lady who is Japanese and she sent her a picture and just said, hey, does this say what we want it to say? And she's like, yeah, they'll understand it.
Okay.
So it worked out well. I'll find it and you can put it in your show notes if you want, but it's amazing. It really is a good website and it was free because there are ones you can pay for on Etsy and stuff like that. But yeah, these ones were great. So.
And Japan must be popular for Australians as well.
Yeah. The accents I heard the most, if it was English, was probably Australian.
Okay.
And German.
Oh, really?
Germans love it.
Okay.
Yeah, there were a lot of Germans there. So, and Scandies, like my wife's like, I think that's Dutch or I think that's whatever. But like, yeah, that, definitely a lot of Europeans there.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So if you remove fish from the equation and
Right.
like Japanese specialties when it comes to food, was there anything that you wanted specifically to try and
Well,
a
yeah,
pleasant surprise or?
there was two, and they both
Yes.
have stories, and I'll tell you them
Okay.
real quick. So,
Please.
the one was I wanted like a noodle dish, right? So, but because my son and in that case, we kind of thought we're gonna order it in, so we used Uber Eats, and
okay.
I found one online. It wasn't far away. It was like tell us what you want in it, what have you. So I said, so my wife got like a veggie one. Not that she's a vegetarian, but she just wanted a veggie one. And my son didn't get, he had whatever he had. I don't remember what it was. But for me, I was like, okay, I want like a dumpling to it, right? So I'm ordering veggies in it and noodles and I got beef. And I'm like, I'm ordering dumplings. Now, here's the thing. Uber Eats in Japan is, guess what? It's in Japanese. So I've got the app on my phone and I've got my wife's phone and I'm translating with my wife's phone on top of my phone. And clearly there are some lost in translation things. Like I just read it and I go, that's not right. I know it's supposed to be this or whatever. So anyway, I'm looking at, we get to the dumplings and it says like, the first one says like soup dumplings. And I'm like, what is that? Like, is it just a plain one? Like, it doesn't, there's not a lot of description and I'm sure, obviously they know what it is. I don't. But we get to this one and I'm like, well, I'm going to get like I want to get a meat one or something. I don't know. So I got beef in my thing, but I'm like, well, I'm going to get a chicken dumpling. So I get to so we get to there's beef dumplings, there's pork dumplings, and we get to the chicken and it says, and again, there had been some examples of lost in translation, but I'm holding my wife's phone over mine and it says chicken dumpling. And then in brackets, it says chicken cartilage. Now,
Ooh.
yeah. So I went, that's probably wrong, right? Like that's probably just means chicken, and it's maybe
Hopefully.
like, yeah, it's I get because again, there had been other examples where I was like, I know that's wrong. It's supposed to say this or whatever. So I'm like, well, it probably just, and there was no other chicken option. So I was like, that's probably the one. And maybe it's like the dark meat or something. I don't know,
Yeah.
whatever. So I got that. Well, you know where this is going. So it comes, and sure enough, the chicken dumpling is in my thing. And I'm like, and I went, okay. And I went to take a bite, and it was like crunch, crunch, crunch. And I'm like,
The bad kind of crunch.
yeah. And I'm
Oh.
like, so I take, I'm examining it, and I'm like, nope, that translated that dead on. Like that is chicken cartilage in a
Oh.
ball. I was just like,
Oh.
I'm sure there are people who appreciate it. I was not one of them. So
Well, it's probably got some, vitamins in it, like collagen or something.
well, maybe.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that we really wanted to try that we kept seeing online was there's a curry. So there are Japanese curries as well. And, just like how there's a Thai curry and obviously an Indian and that kind of Southeast Asian curry. But Japanese curry, there's a chain in particular called Coco Curry. And, and I'm like, we got to try this. It looks awesome. So we go to Osaka Castle. I find that there's one around the corner and it's just after lunch. I'm like, let's go there. They're like, we haven't been yet. Let's do it. So we go, and it's great because they have like an iPad on the table. You can change it to English. You can pick the amount of rice you want and what have you. And the reason we were going there was because they offer a curry sauce that's allergen free.
Mm.
So it doesn't have wheat in it, doesn't have nut, doesn't have fish, what have you.
Okay.
And I knew my son would be fine with that. So, and he loves curry. So we were like, all right, let's go there. So my wife got that one as well. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to get the regular curry, like curry sauce. And when we brought it up, it said, okay, how spicy do you want it? So it said regular. And then it gave a scale of 1 to 15.
Okay.
I've never gone anywhere where there's like, hey, how hot do you want it? Oh, well, 1 out of 10. What do you think? Right. It was 1 out of 15. And my son goes, well, and my son likes spicy stuff. So he's like, well, give me like 10 or something. And I said, whoa, 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 whoa. I said, we don't know what that means.
Exactly.
Right? I said, it's always easier to like, look, if this place is good, and we've heard nothing but that it is good. If it's good, we'll do, let's go low. And then we'll, come back and we'll get a hotter one.
Exactly.
You can always add heat, but you can't take it away.
Exactly.
So I said, look, it says regular. And again, I didn't know if this was a lost in translation thing. So I said, I don't know if that means regular, which is a number. And then there's a 1 to 15. I said, let's just get like 1 because we don't know what that means. And there's like the 1 out of, there's like 1 curry or 1 chili, picture, right? That kind of represents how hot it is or whatever. I said, let's just try that because we don't know where we are. Like this is our first time. So we all get 1 and it comes. And it is delicious. Oh my God, it is so good. But about 2 spoons in, I'm like, am I the only one feeling this right now? And I look over, my son's just pounding water. 1 out of 15. I'm like, how the hell? Because how can someone who gets like, my son wanted to get 10 because he's like, well, that won't be that hot, right? Because that's only like 2/3 of the way there. No, that would have been insanity. I cannot imagine. I got 1 out of 15 and it wasn't like ridiculously hot or anything, but it had a kick. And I don't know, as a follically challenged gentleman, I tend to sweat when I'm eating something spicy. I am constantly using napkins to just wipe my head off. It was crazy, but it was delicious. Oh my gosh. But next time I said like, I wouldn't go higher than that. It was, yeah. My son's like, I think I would try 3. And I was like, yeah, that'd be
exactly.
your cutoff point for sure.
We were in Las Vegas a few years ago, and there was a Thai restaurant at our hotel. And it went the same way. The lady there, a young woman, she asked us from 1 to 10, how spicy do you like it? And we were with a couple of friends, and the guy, he likes it spicy. So he says, how about 7? And the girl says, no, you don't want that.
Yeah.
And I think she talked it down to a 5.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with spicy, but I'm not looking for it, so I took
No.
3.
Mm-hmm.
And Steph and Sophie, they both took 1.
Right.
1 out of 10. And my 3 was like yours. It was just fine, but it had a kick,
Mm-hmm.
and anything above that would have been. I'm not gonna say unpleasant, but I mean, you cannot really enjoy the food at that point, you know.
I like flavor. I don't like a challenge.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not a
Exactly.
when I'm 17 and I'm going out with my friends for wings, it's like, oh, I'm getting suicide wings. Nobody likes the taste of suicide wings. It's just the fact that you're like trying to be,
Well,
look
yeah,
at me.
exactly. You know, macho man.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly. But then I'm like, wait a minute, honey garlic is delicious. I'm going with this.
Yeah, exactly. You know. Yeah, your priorities change with time.
Absolutely.
Did you notice any food etiquette over there that felt particular or something? Can you use chopsticks?
Not well.
Same.
I had been practiced a very little bit because I was like, but to be honest, they just,
Yeah, they don't care.
I don't know if they saw us coming. They're like, give them forks and spoons or what have you.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, we never had any issues at all. The one thing I will tell you about food too, though, is that the convenience store game over there is way different than here.
I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like they have 7-Eleven, they have 2 other ones. One's called Lost and one's called Family Mart. And they each have specialities or whatever that, but these, honestly, they're bringing in fresh food every day, like pre-made meals that you look at and you go, oh my God, this looks amazing. And to be honest, we got a couple to try them that are like, we get home late and I'm like, okay, I don't know what to cook, or you're not at home. You don't have like your whole pantry with you.
Yeah.
So we got there was 2 or 3 times where we got them or from a grocery store around the corner or what have you. And some of them were delicious. Like I got this, oh my gosh, I got this chicken. It was like a chicken cutlet. That's all it said, but it had like this gravy on it and it was unbelievable. Like if I had made that in my own kitchen, I would have been like, I'm the greatest cook of all time. This came from like a 7-Eleven and it was like, wow. They have fresh baked stuff that comes in every day. It's so different than here where like you go to a 7-Eleven, you're like, there's that one hot dog where it's just been rolling all day. You're like, I'm not going near that.
Yeah.
They're not alike at all. And it's amazing. So yeah, we found some like ready, frozen meals even too. Like one night we got these pasta meals. Unbelievable. Like just totally different. The quality is just so different than here or, that you would find in a convenience store, let alone a grocery store here. So, yeah.
So, do you remember the weirdest meal you had beside the chicken cartilage?
No, I didn't really have any. The chicken cartilage was definitely the strangest. No, not, no, I didn't have a bad meal, to be honest. And there was nothing else that I was like, this is weird or I wouldn't normally eat this.
And you're not trying for weird because some people are like, they try like, dog stuff
Absolutely.
in Korea or something, or snakes,
The one thing I did try but I have a sweet tooth, was I tried the matcha green tea ice cream.
Ah, okay.
Which I wouldn't. Oh, I do have another one that I did try.
Kit Kat, like exotic flavors for Kit Kat bars. Did you see
Yeah, we
it?
got them.
Okay. Nice. Nice.
I could send you some.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, most of them are fruit, to be honest. Like there's a peach one that's actually really good. Ruth, my wife, got a banana one that's really nice. Yeah, we didn't get any. Oh, there was one that we got that I actually didn't mind, but the rest of my wife and son didn't like. There was one called Milky Tea Kit Kat.
Huh. Okay.
I don't know if it was supposed to taste like a cup of tea or something, but Ruth's like, my wife's like, this is strange, and I actually didn't mind it. Okay, I did have one other thing that was unusual. Sorry, I forgot about this. There was a really good bakery a couple blocks away from us in Tokyo, and I went one morning, and again, I didn't really know what I'm looking for, right? So I'm but it was amazing. Like it's 2 little old ladies there. And a guy in the back, and clearly they make everything. They make sandwiches and what have you. But I was there to get like a couple of things for breakfast, like croissants and what have you. And they were fantastic. But I got this one donut. And as soon as I didn't know what it was, and I didn't take out my phone to look. And as soon as I picked it up, I was like, wow, that's really heavy. It was like a jam donut, right?
Mm-hmm.
but you couldn't see what was inside it, but you knew something was inside it because it was like it had some weight to it. And I was like, I'm going to get it. I don't know what it is, but it could be chocolate, right? And that could be heavy. I don't know, because they had other things that had chocolate, whatever. Well, it had red bean paste in it.
Oh.
So they have a lot of not a lot, but they have some dessert things that have red bean paste is a flavor. You can get red bean paste ice cream. So I knew as soon as I opened it up, I was like, I'm going to see what's in it. So I opened it up and I was like, I think this is that bean paste, right? Again, I didn't mind it. My family, they were like, not keen on it because it wasn't very sweet. It was it wasn't savory, but it was a bit unusual, right?
Okay.
So, but yeah, red bean paste, I didn't mind it. So that was I don't know if that's just in Japan or if there's other places in the world that do it, but
yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know either.
But I liked it.
This is the end of part 1. Stay tuned for part 2, coming very soon. Thanks.